By 1910, Memorial Day was a legal holiday everywhere in the United States except in the 9 Confederate states, and I think now that's all changed obviously since then. The interesting thing is that Logan County had a jump on that. And Judge Stringer said, when we were putting the book together, and I found this, Judge Stringer said, in the spring of 1867, in various localities throughout the country, the surviving soldiers of the Civil War took it upon themselves to commemorate the deeds of their fallen brothers by strewing flowers on the graves of the dead. This was not an organized observance. It was done just by groups. Individuals thought that something should be done in remembrance. But in Lincoln, Dr. Hauser and J.Q. Smith undertook to try to get it started here in town. But it didn't succeed in developing much interest in that first year, owing to the newness of what is now an established custom. However, in '67, now remember this is the year before Memorial Day, the gentleman secured a drum and fife and with a wagon load of flowers drove out to the cemetery, and I suppose it meant Lucas, but also Union and others, and decorated the graves of their dead comrades. This was probably the first observance of the custom in Logan County. And then the following year, of course, John Logan, whose father, as you know, for whom our county is named, Carbondale, friend of Lincoln. And then by May 30th, '68, that's the first Memorial Day. And the same thing happened. They had a procession, Parks talked and others, and the same type of procession took the flowers and so on out to the graves. So we really had a memorial celebration in our county the year before it was made a nation. It was a GAR event. Grand Army of the Republic sponsored it. It was, as you know, is the forerunner of our today's American Legion. So we were one up on that. So I want to say to you that the work to preserve the memory of our fighting men and women. I'd like to read you something from a speech to which you're very familiar. These are from Lincoln's immortal Gettysburg Address. Remember, Gettysburg was the pivotal battle of the war, and all these boys were just buried on the field. They couldn't move. So the battle was July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863. And then Lincoln came and dedicated that cemetery. And this is part of that speech. It is for us, the living, to here be dedicated to the unfinished task remaining before us, that these honored dead should not have died in vain, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thanks to all of you for preserving the memory of all those brave men and women who have made sure that our wonderful country would not perish from the earth. Thank you. Well, I asked Cousin Wade about this. I'm putting another book together called Last Farm Boy about growing up in western Logan County. And this was my remembrance of the end of the Second World War. I was 9 at the time, so you can figure out how old I am pretty quick from that. And this is what I said about a neighbor boy that came home. The time was probably the summer of 1945 as World War II was winding down, when our neighbor boy, Wayne Trinkle, got back from the war in the South Pacific. His older brother had served in Europe but wasn't back yet. So when his parents, Joe and Blanche, called and told the folks to come up the lane and see Wayne, there was considerable excitement around our house as we all got ready to make that trip, my brothers and sister and I. I distinctly remember my mother telling me, "Now remember, Wayne has lost his leg in the war and feels very badly about it, so we're not going to say anything to him about it." He was a member of the 1st Cavalry Division in World War II and was severely injured in the fight for Leyte Gulf in the Philippines. And their home, of course, is the end of our lane. It's easy to find. Wade remembers it, to the mink ranch sent there. And I remember coming up and the little little bit of wonder because Mom and Dad were very excited. And I'll always remember how Wayne looked on that hot summer day. His uniform was pressed to a razor sharpness. I remember thinking, this man looked like a movie star, but certainly looked every inch a soldier. On his right shoulder was the 1st Cavalry patch, a deep gold color with a black stripe running diagonally across it. Wayne greeted Dad very warmly, as might be expected between two old friends. Wayne, after all, had played the drums for the band at Trinkle's establishment, all those dances, and Dad played the fiddle. That's not a violin now, it's a fiddle, what Dad told me. They'd known each other for a long time. And Wayne also gave Mom a hug, which seems strange because at that time I've never seen anybody but Dad give Mom a hug. This combat veteran looked down at me and said, "I bet you'd like to see my leg." Of course I would. I'm 9 years old. Been playing with World War II style toys for 4 years. Of course. My mother's mortified, but he asked me. And with that, he put his leg up on the table, pulled up his pant leg, and I had my first look at an artificial leg, gears and wires and so on. He explained it to Dad and I and how it worked, and I remember what an impression it made on me, as you can tell after all those years. Maybe a quarter century later, while sitting with Wayne on his front porch in Springfield during the fair one summer evening, I was finally able to ask him about the battle that cost such a young man his leg. I said to him, "Over the years when you thought about losing your leg, did you feel a bitter or resentful feeling that loss kept you from doing some things you wanted to do or maybe lead a fuller life?" And I'm always going to remember what he said to me. He said, "Yes, in that battle, I lost my leg. But in those sands on that island are buried many of my friends who fought the battle with me and didn't come back. I'm the lucky one. I'm here, came back, been able to have a wife and family, a good job. So no, I haven't really spent much time being upset or even thinking about it. Like I said, I'm the lucky one." Thank you.